Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday night once again on the bus. And of course, you know what that means. It's time to get that Friday feeling because once again, Celtic are back in action. And just like the intro there, Celtic will indeed be looking to pile on some agony and put on the style when they play Hibs this Sunday in the Scottish League Cup round of 16 and look to exorcise some League Cup demons because this time last year, we didn't get off to the best of starts in the League Cup. It was over before it started. So we're hoping for no repeats of that this time around. I've got a funny feeling the chat tonight and obviously the boys on with me. I think we're all going to be pretty confident of victory on Sunday, but we'll get to that when we get there. So let's, of course, introduce the team tonight. And as you can see, some familiar faces as usual on the Friday night. Michael, you're back, mate. Yeah, you were slacking last week, mate. You were missing, but you're back this week, mate. So welcome back on to Friday nights, my man.
Yeah. Thanks for having back on, mate. Looking forward to it. A lot to talk about, so good.
Yeah, man, a lot going on. So yeah, we've got quite a bit to get into tonight. And of course, Friday night on the bus. What would it be without the wise man, without Canada's favourite Tim, and of course the president, El Presidente of the Greg Taylor fan club? It is of course Liam Greenlaw. How are you doing, Liam?
I think I set a record last week when I launched into a two-footed Greg Taylor tackle within the first 5 seconds of the game. You know, it was a pure red card at my part, you know, but deservedly so. I think so. I stand by my gun. And I've already had a rant in our pre-chat.
That's true. Hey, Liam, you obviously old school on the bus. You'll remember don't back down, double down, mate. That was a thing on a Friday night.
Listening to the two Sweetie Wives last night on TNF. Wow, 7 out of 10 every week. What are the two of you drinking last night? Anyway, we're getting the bus back in its lane, getting the proper route going again. And like, come on, let's sober up a bit here, boys, and talk proper football sense tonight.
Yes, let's get that. Let's do that, Liam. But of course, before we do that, folks, remember to do all that good stuff that helps out the channel massively. Hit that like button. Hell, even hit that dislike button if you like, because it all counts towards interactions, and that's what YouTube likes. You, of course, can get involved in our comment section, like many people are doing already. We've got a lot of regulars: Jim C, Timmy Bing, Gary Brown, even our very own David Logue is in there. You also got to get Charles Smith, 420 somewhere. Henrik McLarson is there too. So yeah, a lot of the regulars are in tonight. So get involved in our chat, get some of your comments up and interact with you along the way. Of course, if you haven't done so yet, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Keep us in your life that wee bit longer. And share the link of the Boise Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform you wish. Give it before Twitter burns itself to the ground because oh, God, that's an absolute cesspit. But hey, if you still like to indulge on Twitter, then by all means, share the link in the Boise Bus on there, Instagram, whatever. And of course, head over to piesports.com and use that code BUS1888. Get yourself 12.5% off your tasty pastry treats. And yes, with all the good stuff out the way, all that said and done, yeah, let's get into another Friday feeling episode, boys. Because yes, Celtic, of course, playing Hibs at the weekend in the League Cup. We'll be talking about that later on. But first, there was a big story today. Of course, there is always a press conference on the Friday before the game. And some headlines, some box office Brendan, to say the least. We've talked about, is Brendan Light finally gone? Has he finally left the building? Because there was a few worries over the last 12 months that Brendan Light is what we were getting. But today, I mean, where's the lie? Brendan Rodgers got his teeth into the whole argument over the away allocations because, again, it has reared its ugly head. Once again, we were under the impression that this year, Michael, that there would be some sort of away presence at Celtic and Rangers fixtures this year. We were told at the tail end of the season, something that I'd said along the way, the SPFL, the SFA, whatever governing body it is, needs to step in, get both teams to sit down and say, right, you two, this is the way it's going to be. And we got the impression that that's what had happened. The SPFL had intervened and said, this is the way it's going to be, 5% and whatnot. And of course, we get this through the week. This story comes out that there ain't going to be away fans at this game coming up on September the 1st. I think it's a big smokescreen it's code for they're not getting Ibrox back anytime soon. They've told their fans that Ibrox will be ready to go in September. I have a funny feeling another statement will be coming out from them around about September to say, actually, that date that we put in is not going to be September, folks. And that's probably why that this has happened. Celtic, I know it came out and they've said safety assurances. I think it's just more the fact stadium assurances. Rangers won't be back in their stadium, I reckon, because as we know, there seems to be quite a lot of problems coming out from this refurbishment work they're getting done. And it would be quite a shit show, Michael, if the rival team, us, were the ones to come out and say, yeah, they told us that they're not going to get back into their stadium anytime soon. So it's been dressed up more as safety concern issues, but I think that's the bigger story here. But either way, Michael, is another farce in this ongoing saga. And when or if will it ever end?
No, I was actually quite happy with Rodgers earlier. I think this needs nailed to the mast. The fact this is a split problem. The media seem to run with that occasionally. It's a Celtic and Rangers problem.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how this came about in the first place? We beat them 5-1 under Rodgers' first season. Yep. We beat them the first time at Ibrox in September in Rodgers' second season, and we beat them 3-2. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yep. What's an Edward goal?
Exactly. And all of a sudden, that was the game they were celebrating in the pub. The draw got announced. They were that happy to play us because we were there for taking, apparently. Then we turn up, we beat them 3-2. They're down to 10 men for the second half. And they spat their collective dummy out. It was so starting to follow something. I can remember at the time. They wanted allocations cut, and the excuse was they want more tickets for season ticket holders and stuff like that. But everybody knows that was a lot of nonsense. Yeah. We're just sick of us going to Ibrox and partying there, basically. And like you said, I've had mates that went to Ibrox in this new allocation. Once had their arm broke, bought a vodka from the government stand, and one of our mates had his head burst open as well. So that kind of go and just keep people in the corner. If they can't give us a full allocation, I would say don't let them back either. I would say full allocation or nothing. I know it's never going to go back to that, but he need called out on it and he told why this started and he reminded, because it's become too common just being known as like Celtic Rangers problem now, as if we're both at fault.
Yeah.
That's why Rodgers was right to nail it today. Totally. This is a Rangers problem. That's where it started, and it's about time this myth. It's a problem between the two clubs was nailed. I was happy Rodgers today that he actually just came out and said it as it was. As well knew it was. Yeah. I think it needs called out by somebody official at the club. The fact that's been done, then I applaud Rodgers for it, honestly.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. I was watching it live on Sky Sports News today. And I was like, this is incredible when he just came out and said it like it was, when he's like, the media spin it that this is a Celtic and Rangers problem. So let's get this straight. This was started by them. This is a Rangers problem. And it does. The crux of it is we were beating them pretty heavily and their fans were not happy that we were lording it over them consistently every time we went there. See, we beat them 5-1 under Brendan. We also beat them in the New Year game that season. The next season, we beat them 2-0 pretty handsomely under Pedro. Then at the end of that season, it was a 3-2 game. It was just one after the other. And they just decided to go with the whole, season ticket demand. But then, interestingly enough, I remember a few months ago, I just caught this on YouTube, so it was doing the rounds on Celtic Twitter, but some podcast channel for the English lower leagues, because Josh Windass plays for Sheffield Wednesday now, who are in the English Championship. He was a guest on it. It was like a similar format to Open Goal, but like an English Championship or English lower leagues equivalent. And he got asked by the guys hosting it about the atmosphere at Celtic Rangers games, and then one of them brought up that, I hear there's been a cut in the allocations, and Josh Windass, former Rangers player, so a bit of an insider, you could say, said, it's pretty much because they were beating us all the time, and that's why they cut it. So I don't think he'll be welcome back at Ibrox anytime soon with that one. But hey, he said what we were all thinking and what we all knew, so fair play to the lad. He actually admitted the truth there. But yeah, Liam, box office Brendan, no doubt about it. He nailed it right on the head there with what he said today, and it's good to see, because I think you were one of the ones, and I had my concerns as well over the last 12 months about Brendan Light, and he wasn't afraid the first time around to have wee passive aggressive digs here and there, and just come out and say it like it was. So it was refreshing to see Liam the day that he did just came out and said it as it is, said what we were all thinking.
Right. I think that's refreshing to see right now, especially coming from our club where every message is guarded and everything is hidden behind closed doors and all that. To see somebody come out and just tell it as it exactly is and the way we're feeling. We're in an age of disinformation right now. And you listen to Clement, talking about threes and stuff the other night, and and for fouls, it wasn't a red card, but it was certainly a yellow card. You know, so it's nice just to see somebody calling them out on their stuff, because they've just been getting away for it for so long. Whereas everybody is just like, you know, we've been appeasing them. So, yeah, I thought we were getting a bit Brendan light. To see him come out now and get the Gucci belt back on. I want my WWF Brendan back.
Man, but no, it was I say that my opinion, although when the story first came out early in the week, is I just get the funny feeling that I think most people, and a lot of Rangers fans I could see in replies to the statement on Twitter, they kind of get the sinking feeling that what they're being told by their board about, Ibrox will be ready for this date, it's not. And because probably we're going to play them at Hampden on January the 2nd, then that isn't really, as obviously Rangers Stadium, the logistics are changing it all up, and all the safety measures are wanting to put in place, they can't guarantee it because it's not their stadium. So the merry-go-round continues, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're not back at Ibrox at all this season, but we'll wait and see. But I definitely don't think the whole September thing is going to come to fruition. I get a funny feeling when we get a wee bit closer to that date, the Rangers fans are going to get another statement dropped on them by their board saying that, actually, we'll have to push it back a wee bit further again. But that's going to be their problem. For the time being, we're still in our stadium, and we will not be welcoming them on September the 1st. Now, on the subject of the press conferences today as well, just following on from that, did you happen to see, Michael, the very bizarre clip doing the rounds of John Souttar showing how broken a dressing room they've got already, just a couple of games into the season? Because apparently he was the player that was nominated to go and do the presser today for them, and he had a really odd moment where he was put on the spot about the manager says we won't see the best of our team until October, and he just sort of sat there and went, and that was it. And it was like, it reminded me last season when Dujon Sterling came out and was like, I look around the dressing room and I see a broken team. I see a team that isn't competing for the title, and it's like, we've got them broken already, and we've only played 2 games this season. So from our point of view, it's encouraging to see, isn't it, Michael?
It's obviously they're counting themselves as being our closest rivals this year. I think personally, I don't think a lot of our players are buying into that manager. Obviously, Carmel spotted him away and stuff like that. They went on a good run when he first came in last season, and then obviously towards the end of the season, you see that bottle went, but a lot of players looked unhappy and stuff. And you said, Phil, there was stuff coming out that Dujon Sterling said in press conferences. You tell it wasn't exactly a happy camp. So I think a lot of them are only buying into the manager, to be honest with you. And like the lack of investment from the board as well. I think a lot of them are just disillusioned with everything's going on. But obviously they're no better about that than me. But I just think they don't look happy at all. I think they were expecting bigger investment as well. A lot of their players, and I think he trains them pretty hard as well. So maybe a lot of them are spat their collective dumb out of that as well. Don't like to work too hard, but I don't think he's anything special. He's not showing me anything anyway that Michael Beale never showed. He's no different. I love ball mates, and that's kind of it. No.
Well, it's all good from our point of view. It's very encouraging. Just a matter of 2 weeks into the season, we're already seeing these signs that they might be throwing in the towel already. But we'll see come September the 1st what they're made of then. But at the moment, I'm feeling quite good about it all. But let's talk about some big news this week. It's finally over the line. Liam Adam Idah's now officially a Celtic player. That was one of the worst kept secrets. So there was 2 worst kept secrets this season in football: Bernardo to Celtic and Adam Idah to Celtic. And Adam Idah's finally made it over the line. So obviously, I would imagine a happy boy, Liam, at that news Wednesday night. Poor Regan, though, he was 1 day out from cashing in on that guarantee that David Logue made to him live on a Tuesday ticket, saying, I tell you what, if it happens on August the 15th, then I'll buy you a shirt with Idah on the back. But he was 1 day out. I think that's harsh. I think Regan still deserves something for his troubles, because what a prediction, because Regan told us through the week that it was June the 18th on an episode of the Tuesday Ticket, Liam, that he predicted that one. We were even joking about it last week, saying, who does he know? What's his contacts phoning up Go Radio and stuff like that all the time? All these different podcasts that he's on, all these radio shows. What does he know? Who does he know? But out of nowhere on June the 18th, he just said, I think it'll be August 15th that Adam Idah will sign. He was 1 day out, so fair play to the lad. But either way, Liam, it's done and dusted. Adam Idah is here, and it's quite incredible when you think back to 6 months ago when he first came in on that initial loan, when there was anger and confusion from the Celtic fans, like, who is this guy? what's this deal all about? This seems like a panic, and now we're all delighted after what he did and what he contributed last season. You can't argue with the big game element that he has to him. He can, he's popped up with some amazing moments, and hopefully over the next however many years he's with us, Liam, we get more of those big moments.
It shows you how much the Celtic board has conditioned us. For, you say about managing expectations and all that. And the way they've sort of led us to believe that now this is a success story. We went for a guy coming in for Norwich, and I wasn't excited when he came in. It didn't look like a signing to me that was well scouted or, something had been going, that somebody we'd really identified and wanted as a player. And it seemed like a very last-minute option, and it's been proven that it was the last-minute option. Well on the boy for coming in and taking his chance. I think he gives us that physicality we need up front that we've not had since Giacomakis. I think he's got that. I think he generally looks like he likes playing for the team. He looks like he's well liked within the team.
Yep.
So absolute no-brainer. Could we have handled it better if we've done 40 million podcasts at saying, yes, guess what, Celtic, you could have handled this better. I'm looking forward to him. I think we're probably going to see him on Sunday. And I think he's the type of guy that I think he wants to get out there and show the fans right away that was money well spent. And I think that's great motivation for a guy like that. So I'm looking to see him fill the net on Sunday, given the opportunity. Don't know if he'll start, but I don't know if Google's fit or not. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't be any problem with fitness or getting up to speed with the team. So I like to see it. I still think we need another striker.
I agree.
Just to identify who's behind him. Is it going to be Mikey Johnson? Is it Dyson Maeda? Let's go out there and say, okay, that's what it is then at that point. Stop keeping us in the dark as fans and that. It's just torture at this point. But welcome to Celtic, Big Adam. And honestly, I hope this is a club for you. I hope this is where you can take your career to the next level and really push yourself, knowing that the fans base behind you as well, that will, encourage you in that, but also, get on your back as well if you're not living up to our expectations. So it's all about values, motivation, and what you think becoming a Celtic player is all about. And I'm happy to have him. He's proved himself, I think, so far, and let's hope he hits the ground running. Europe's is where we're going to see. We'll find his value when we see those first couple of European games and where his place in the team is and, what he can bring to the games.
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing him in Europe because there's going to be those away days where we're going to need to hold the ball up at the top end of the park. And you need a physical force up there that can do that. I think he's got it in him. You hold it there for a midfield runner because you know what it's like watching Celtic in Europe, particularly away from home. If we're not doing something like shooting ourselves in the foot, we're just under the cosh for pretty much 90 minutes. So we're going to need him to be up there, target man, to hold that ball up there. But in terms of the general pressure, Michael, obviously we're in a situation, and it's mad that Celtic in the year 2024 find themselves in this situation because we should have broke this a long time ago, right? Obviously, Austin Edward is our record signing of 9 million. At the moment, Idah is now our second. 8.5 million, potentially could go up to 9.5 million. That would, if that happens, if these clauses, whatever they are met, he would become Celtic's record signing. I say 9.5 million nowadays in modern day football in 2024. It's astounding that would be our record. But do you think he can handle that tag? Because I think he can. I think he's shown. He backs himself. I think when he came in, he was very much aware of the sort of general feeling, and I think he knew right away that I've got to prove myself to these fans. I've got to win them over. And I think he went a long way to do it. And I don't think the price tag would phase him anyway. I think he'll be that will boy him, G him up even more. Then he'll go out and prove that it is worth, I think, over the next, I say how many years he's here. But between now and the January window anyway, for his first 6 months, where we're going to have all these Champions League games, I think he will prove to be worth every penny.
I think he will be. The thing is, as well, Phil, I don't think the supporters think that is a record signing stuff. I'm just happy to eventually have it done. And I think he's somebody who's got more development in him. To be honest, I think you can see the improvement even towards the end of last season from when he first came in. He's hold up playing, everything was starting to get a lot better, and he was playing within the width for the box as well. I think a lot of people for Norwich said that he comes too wide and stuff like that before. I think when you watched him last season, he was sticking more in the 18-yard box, and his hold-up play and everything was brilliant.
Yep.
And he started to develop his finishing as well. So I think he's still got another couple of levels he can go up.
Yeah.
To be honest, so I think he'll definitely prove money well spent. And like, the type of season it was last season, how tight it was, he came in, he scored what should have been the winning goal at Ibrox, obviously. It turns out it wasn't, but then he scores the winning goal in the cup final. He played against him 3 times and scored twice. Once the winning goal in a cup final and a goal at Ibrox. So I don't think you can doubt his character. Considering, like you said, the optics when he came in, a lot of the fans weren't too enamoured with the signing because he was a guy who wasn't playing for Norwich.
Yep.
The last minute signing, we were scratching about all January, it seemed. And he came in, he took all that on his back, and he was brilliant between January and the end of the season. So I think that'll phase him. Like I said, I think he's still got another couple of levels he can go up. And I think he'll prove to be a brilliant signing. I don't think it's up for us to get caught up in the money. That's the board's about time they started spending money, really. So does it phase me? And I don't think it'll phase him either, the price tag.
Definitely. What he should be doing is making sure that they just keep breaking that record. So he's just mad in 2024. Potentially, we're looking at that would be Celtic's record side. It'd be Idah, which nobody would have really predicted. It could be 9.5 million. But realistically, every year we should be also looking to move on and invest in at least one big marquee player. You never know, maybe there'll be one before the end of the window, because people have actually pointed out the sales that we've made over the course of this year, like Idah and whatnot, and leaving Haksabanovic, even Boston Lawwell, the sort of net spend, really, we haven't really spent that on Idah because we've made it all pretty much back from these sales alone, but ultimately that is what we've given to Norwich. So yeah, we are in a position where he could become our most expensive player, but I think he will definitely prove his worth. Say the hold-up play, particularly in the European nights, is going to be so crucial. And again, we'll cross that bridge we come to it. But speaking of records and money and whatnot, Liam, it's another week, it's another bid being knocked back from Matt O'Reilly. We're getting that a little bit closer to the end of the window. I'm still leaning towards he's still going to be here. The very fact that we've rebuffed, I think it's a 5th or a 4th bid from Atalanta and Serie A even. I said R there, like I really emphasised that area, Serie A. But yeah, I feel like I'm leaning towards he's still going to be here. He's not giving me the impression that he's desperate to leave. I feel like if he was, he would have kicked up a fuss by now. His form so far in the first 2 games, he's not been playing, I'd say, below his usual standard. So to me, I'm still quite confident now that he's going to still be here at the end of the window. And the fact that Celtic are quite happy to just stand up to these offers, because the latest one they're talking about with Atalanta's was in excess of 20 million anyway, probably closer to 25 million. And there was also a Brighton one that was rumoured as well that got knocked back. There was 25 million in that region with potential add-ons. So when Brendan Rodgers is saying things like bid on the player, not on the league, and it looks like Celtic are standing to that. And I say Celtic, I'm confident, Liam, that he is still going to be here come the end of the window.
I think it probably shows that we don't have a backup. We don't have a plan to replace him at this point. And so their inactivity is nothing out of valour or anything like that. It's more out of necessity. They'll be, if we sell him and we don't have an adequate replacement, or the replacement is Bernardo, there'll be ructions. It'll be crazy. No, and the board can't get away with that, because regardless how well we're doing, every switchboard, every podcast, everything will be fucking outraged that we've done this to ourselves again, that we've let a player go without replacing them. So I really think that's it. I think they really don't have a backup identified at this point, thinking maybe they'll identify someone and we'll fix it during the January window and, oh, well, it was unbelievable money, we'll have to take it. I also think as well, too, I don't think O'Reilly doesn't look like he's pushing. He's no petulant. He's no flinging the toys at the pram. Doesn't look like he's putting the tools down. In fact, he's rolling down the socks and he's getting stuck in there. I think he's due a good game. I want to see him. Want to see him when he scores that next goal. That could very well be this weekend as well. So I think he's needing to have a good standout game for us as well too. I'm still yet he's played well, but he's not played our biggest player ready to get sold well, where every other eyes are on him. He's done okay just to sort of look the part and that, but he's not really stood out and bossed a game yet. So I'm happy to keep him. I really hope he stays. I think he'll help settle us this year. Just that extra even just knowing you got a player like that in your dressing room has to be good for some of the other boys to come in, and the boys that are training with him and playing with him in the dressing room as well. Knowing that, wow, we've got a guy, it's proven that the model works. So the best somebody like that hangs around, the better it is for the team spirit and all that, knowing that, yeah, okay, you can come to Celtic as a plan, as a football player, how are you going to move ahead, and actually see that working in real time with Matt O'Reilly.
Yeah, well, you're talking about celebrations and whatnot. He's definitely getting into the old TikTok celebrations. That's 2 weeks in a row. Him and Nicholas Kuhn. I think he's the instigator of this. I'm going to call him the instigator anyway. He did the one against Kilmarnock, and then last week it wasn't caught on camera initially against Hibs, but yeah, him and Nicholas Kuhn ran off the sideline and did a wee routine as well. So the camaraderie is good anyway. You can't doubt that, and that's some of his social media posts. Just be simple things like just talk about how it's good to be back. And again, I know players can pull the wool over the eyes sometimes, and we can be guilty of buying into things. But I just feel with him, he is like, there was a comment there from Ali that said Matt is the ultimate pro, and I do just generally feel that he's very honest. I don't feel that he is trying to deceive us. I feel like if he doesn't get his move, I've seen it enough times with the body language and some of the things that he said and the interviews he's done. He's definitely buying into whatever Brendan Rodgers is selling, because he's flourished under him. There was all those weird passive-aggressive digs that he took at Ange Postecoglou at the start of last season. So there was definitely a bit of a rift there of what happened in Ange's second season. So he's definitely on board with Brendan Rodgers. And yeah, I feel like Brendan will have sat him down and just said, look, another year, and it won't be teams like Brighton and Atalanta that will be coming knocking. You'll be looking at higher up the English Premier League, like maybe an Arsenal or a Liverpool or something like that. And maybe in Italy, it'll be teams like Inter and AC Milan, Juventus will be coming in and knocking the door. See, Atletico Madrid already inquired back in January. So he obviously didn't come to anything, but maybe he sat him down and just said, one more year, especially in this new Champions League format, if you can put in some outstanding performances there. And he was in that Champions League campaign there the last season, even though, yes, we still finished bottom of the group. Didn't really change much from the season 4. He was one of the more outstanding players for the couple of assists that he got for Kyogo to score against Atletico and against Lazio. So, it could be that he's standing. I say the fact that the club are standing up to these bids encourages me that he will still be here come the end run. And for me, that is a win, because the worrying part is, and it shouldn't be this way, but we don't trust the club to replace him adequately with the way they perform. So right now they've won a watch by having him. Hopefully they can keep him, because if they lost him at this stage of the window with about 2 weeks to go, would you trust them to get an adequate replacement? I know Engels of FC Augsburg was identified a potential 10 million signing. I mean, they are the types of signings that you need, but would Celtic get it over the line? Would it be done? Who knows? We won't find out, because apparently it was only going to be if Matt O'Reilly left, he would be the main target. So hopefully, Matt O'Reilly doesn't leave and he's still here come the end of the window. But there is another name that's doing the rounds, and this is not a Matt O'Reilly replacement, Michael. This is one you don't need to get worried and go, oh God, does he come out and replace him? But yeah, Luke McCown's name's doing the rounds again. Apparently, somebody put in our group chat there, I think it was David Logue, forwarded on a message saying it's a done deal from somebody he's heard from, somebody who's ITK apparently. I don't know how I feel about Luke McCown. I was stunned when his name first began coming up. Me and David were on doing a Tuesday Ticket episode, and David doing all the research that he does. I was stunned to see that Luke McCown's in his mid-20s. I just had this assumption that he was like 19, 20 or something like that, in that sort of young thing. Because Dundee had been out of the division and I hadn't really been watching, so I wouldn't have known. But yeah, apparently he's like 26 these days. But Luke McCown, if he came in, where does he fit in the pecking order? Would he go like above Iwata as that sort of guy that might come in and play a game here and there, but he's more that guy that we're looking to shore up a game and he gets put on? Because right now that seems to be Iwata's role in the team. Quon's already been loaned out to Hibs. Danny Kelly's signed a pre-contract in Millwall, so he's off ski. Is there a place for Luke McCown in the squad? Because the only thing I can think of to say is probably taking Iwata's place, because maybe players like Iwata are going to be getting phased out over between now and January. Because I know that if he's going to go back to Japan, for example, if maybe it's not, maybe Brendan doesn't fancy keeping him, their football season runs from March to November. So if Iwata was going to make a move back home, it would make sense for him to leave in January. So maybe that's where McCown fits in. But I do find it just, I don't want to use the word underwhelming, because I'll always judge a player once I watch them play for Celtic if they do sign for us. I don't want to get too ahead of myself and just write them off right away. But I just find it weird that teams like Hibs are apparently bidding for him. So what, we're competing with Hibernian for a Dundee midfielder? It just seems very, very out of place for us, Michael.
You're forgetting James McCarthy's left as well. Fell apart. So that's
yes.
Squad place up for grabs.
Was he even here in the first place? Was he a fever dream, James McCarthy?
Who knows? I'm actually not against signing McCowan just on its own. I think we need to start looking at Scottish players and see what's in the league first and foremost. Yep. But as you say, it depends what kind of signing it is. If it's somebody's brought in to replace O'Reilly, it's just not going to wash. But him, with another midfielder, I'd be quite happy with. I think we need to look to the best in the league. And a few mates have actually seen him and said he's a cracking player. The time they watched Dundee over the last 6 months, he stood out. So I'm all for it, but like I said, it can't be that direct replacement for O'Reilly. Obviously, it's a squad player. By all means, apparently he's pretty good. So I'm quite relaxed about it. Quite happy.
Well, I think what you hit on there with we have to look at more Scottish players. If Danny Kelly is off skiing, he's a Scottish player that ticks the homegrown box. And if the rumours are true, because the club still haven't actually confirmed this, have they, about James McCarthy? Have they actually come out and officially said that? Was he even in the door in the first place? When was the last time he was even cited? Who knows? But he ticks the box of being a homegrown player. So yeah, they are going to need to get players in that will tick that box for UEFA squads. I think it's like 8 players they've got to have that are Scottish trained. So Scottish born, Scottish trained within the league as well. So yeah, they do need to get those players in. So yeah, it could very well be that. To say a Waters position in the squad right now, he doesn't really get much game time in terms of starts. He's just a guy that Brendan likes to bring on to shore games up. So that could be McCown's job, going maybe get an occasional start here and there. But it might be. I say I won't judge him until I actually see him. I just find the optics of it a bit weird, where the team we seem to be competing with to sign him is either an English lower league club. I think I had Birmingham and Bolton's name linked, and they're in the third tier of English football, and Hibs. And I was like, I can understand if we were bidding up against like English Championship teams or lower end Premier League teams. So I was like, Hibs, it's a bit of strange, but we'll wait and see. And I say, if he does sign for Celtic, I'll judge him once I've watched him play for us and decide. But right now, I'm just kind of, I don't know what to make on that one. But a wee bit of transfer rumours out of the way. Let's go back to something that we talked about last week, because we spoke about the leaked third kit, the army fatigue camouflage type design, the one that apparently is on sale in America right now. So it seems to be out there. That's going to be the third kit. Obviously, I brought it up on the screen and asked for Liam's opinion, because obviously he's an artist, as we know. And one of the things that Liam did mention as well is he's got a past life. You are in marketing and branding. Oh, he's ran away from us. There you go. He's had enough already. He's just disconnected. That's what he's done.
Greg Taylor, man.
Yeah. No, it's Greg Taylor coming to get you again. But no, it's just the last week you mentioned about, you've got a background in marketing and branding and whatnot. And this has been brought up a few times, where obviously we've got Adidas as the current kit manufacturer. I think this is the 5th year we've had Adidas, 5th season. I don't know if this is the final season or whatnot, but I've noticed this summer, Liam, that Adidas have been on a bit of a mission doing all these feature-length trailers to launch kits. They did one for Aston Villa, which was fantastic, actually, and it had Ozzy Osbourne and Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath in it, with Paranoid being the background music, with them in it, a mixture of like modern-day Aston Villa players like McGinn, Emi Martinez, Ollie Watkins, guys like Gabby Agbonlahor having cameos. So you're leaning into the past, the current-day squad, famous fans. Then they did like a Newcastle one recently for Newcastle's new away kit. It had like David Ginola in it, Steve Howe, Nobby Solano, Rob Lee, Shea Gibbons, again leaning into the past, but then there was a modern take. So you had like Eddie Howe was in it, modern players like Joe Linton. And yeah, there's a Man United one at the moment with Born Slippy as the background music. Yap Stam and Brian Robson are in it, a few famous fans and modern players again. So there's a theme going on with how they're doing it, and they've got one for Arsenal as well, like Patrick Vieira and whatnot. And I'm like, man, I think they're missing a trick here with Celtic, because we could easily Like, we've got the resources there, the legendary players, musicians that are fans, and I don't just mean Rod Stewart, before anybody jumps in there. We've got plenty of that. You could get like Paolo Nutini, something like that, to do the music. We've got plenty of celebrity fans. Jesus Christ, we've got loads of those. And I just feel like, what kind of get... Maybe we're not a big enough brand in their eyes, but I feel like Celtic's brand is pretty big. And another thing they've been doing as well, Liam, is on some of their kits, some of their teams this season are under the Adidas umbrella. They've been doing the old school Adidas logo on them. They call it the trefoil. And if you don't know what the trefoil is, it looks like that Adidas logo. But apparently, they've only been saving it for their elite partners, which are Bayern Munich, Man United, Arsenal, Real Madrid, which kind of makes sense because all of them wear Adidas when that logo was getting used in the 80s. But strangely, Juventus had been deemed one of their elite clubs, even though Juventus were never Adidas back in the 80s and the early 90s. They were always Kappa. So Juve have got this. So Celtic obviously didn't fall into that category. We were Umbro, in fact, as I'm wearing tonight, an old Umbro shirt. But yeah, I just find like with us, like, we've got a massive global reach. Yes, we do play in the Scottish Premiership, and yes, the standard is what it is. But I feel like with Adidas, if they were to pull out an advert like they've been doing with some of the English clubs, I think they're missing a trick here with Celtic because there's a lot of potential there, Liam.
I don't know if they're missing a trick yet. It just might be the timing. I mean, they have done sexy ads for us before. When we first started with Adidas, they put one together. Adidas, there's two different sides of Adidas. There's a fashion brand and there's a sports brand. And you can see that there's different shops and all that where it's just mostly the fashion. I think the fashion guys get it right. They always have. I worked with them back in the early 2000s when they made the move to go from high performance sport to take on more cultural type things. That's when you see them popping up in ID magazine and things like that. And Adidas became sort of like the retro band because, in the early 2000s, Nike was kicking everybody's arse. And there was all these other new brands coming in as well that were invading into the old Adidas space. And they sort of stood still for a while. And then when they came back, they threw everything behind culture. They were going to be, they're going to have like the whole Manchester thing. They were going to be wearing 3 stripes. The whole, like Ian Brown, King Monkey and all that sort of stuff. You could see it flourishing over the ways when the Adidas came back. It wasn't through sport. It was through culture. So I tell you, culture, yeah, we've got a great idea. We've got a great team to support that way. It's not going to really delve into our history unless they do like a really cool ad where somebody with a bit of an attachment to the club guides them through it and say, listen, we've got some of the most well-known fans in the world. I don't think there's any amount of film stars that follow any other team than people that follow Celtic. The other thing as well, you're advertising these not to Celtic fans, but to people in the States, rappers, all that. Now, Adidas, I don't think they have another high-profile club that wears green. So you're leaving a huge sort of, colour at the palette there when you just go with all your red, blue, and black teams. It's like because you see people showing up. I think that's probably why they brought out the camo one. The camouflage one. If they'd done any look into our history or what any of the flare-ups or where we've been accused of being paramilitary and all that, they wouldn't have brought out a camouflage script, right? It looks a bit military, which is something I thought we were trying to avoid. But you know what? I'm looking forward to see one done like that for us, because I think if you can do it with somebody like Aston Villa, with just somebody like an Aussie, and and Geezer Butler, and I thought the Newcastle one was really good.
It's good.
What it is it's creating a culture around the club and taking it, stripping away the football, and then using it as a way to sort of engage new fans, old fans, light a fire under existing fans, that sort of stuff, and make it part of their fashion empire and their fashion brand. And we know right now that our history's travelled far and wide. Love Aston Villa, that's great, they won European Cup and all that, but they don't have supporters clubs all over the world the way Celtic do. They don't have 5 supporters club in one city, 3,000 miles away from home, like Toronto or New York and places like that. They've not got that culture. And if we're smart, we make that sort. We set that up with Adidas, where either we do it ourselves or we work with them. because the opportunity is there, and it's a great way to promote our brand throughout the world, and that's culture. And we got loads of it, man. Come on, you got Gil Scott Heron's dad played for Celtic. He's a supporter. You got Bob Marley's son, Robert Marley. Has always been Celtic supporters. Your film stars, Jerry Butlers, James McAvoy's, Tommy Flanagan's, Davy O'Hara's, all these guys out there right now that are on significant films and all that, all support Celtic. So I think we're missing a trick if we don't do that. We've got one of the best brands in the world. Let's act like it. But our branding stops at a boardroom suit level right now. That's the one part of the branding I hate. All the jerseys and all that they bring out. They should bring that suit, shirt, and tie out and put that in the boardroom. See how many of them you fucking sell.
When you're talking about the culture and whatnot, obviously we got the Adidas deal. I remember just people are absolutely over the moon about it. The Sambas and stuff like that, all the things that was anything with the Adidas brand on it, it is a huge name. But apparently Alistair Jack said in the comments, this is our last year with Adidas, whether it gets renewed or not. But if we go back to Nike or Umbro, I mean, I was trying to work this out in my head because we've had Umbro, we've had New Balance, we've had Nike, we've had Adidas. I think that's only 4 that have really done kits for us before, because up until a point, it was the 70s before the branding actually appeared on kits. It was Umbro first, then I say we went to Nike, then New Balance, and now Adidas. So I was like, what's out there still that is a big brand? And the one that I don't want us to get is Puma, because see some of the kits they've done for teams over the last few years. I mean, Puma right now do Borussia Dortmund's kits. And there's one that they've got particular this season, which is a mishmash. I don't know why Puma thought this was a good idea. They've just took all the kits they've done for Dortmund in the last 6 years and done it like a patchwork thing. It looks horrendous. It's their cup kit. They'll wear it in the German FA Cup. And I was like, that's absolutely dreadful. Then there was that period they did, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. Every Puma team had these kits where they just put the name of the team across the chest. It was like Dortmund, Fenerbahce, Man City, and I was like, I swear to God, we better not get Puma. Honestly, that is the one, because out of all the big brands that are out there, that's one that we've not had. So if we don't renew with Adidas, that's the one that I'm feared of us going. I wouldn't mind if we were back with Nike again. I thought Nike always did good kits, and to me, the 2 big brands for big clubs are Nike and Adidas. So if you're one or the other, but we'll see what happens at the end. But either way, whoever picks us up for the next season, do some sort of trailer like Adidas are doing right now. Come on, because as Liam said there's plenty to tap into, plenty of celebrity fans and whatnot, plenty of history with this club, and a massive, massive worldwide fan base. So they're missing a trick. But anyway, let's talk about the game at the weekend now. We're about 20 minutes to go. We'll get into that, because this, Michael, is, of course, a cup game. And this is one of the things we spoke about in the summer when we signed, obviously, Kasper Schmeichel in Sinisalo, because we were like, this is surely where he must get a game, because the plan is clearly that Schmeichel is going to be the number 1. He's obviously the experienced head, but we've brought in a younger keeper to learn off of him, as you would imagine. And where's he going to get game time? It's got to be League Cup games and Scottish Cup games. It has to be that. Home game against Hibs, who aren't particularly great right now. We kind of dusted them aside last week. Kasper Schmeichel couldn't have been in goals for the last 2 games, and we still would have got away with it because we've just cruised through them. He's not had a real meaningful save to make. So with the goalkeeper, do you think Kasper will keep his place, or do you think this is where we're going to see Sinisalo get a nod?
I think it will still be Schmeichel, purely because he's still just in the door himself. But I think going forward in the competition, we need to do, obviously, play Sinisalo, get him a run, and try and rest people like Cal McGregor and players like that. And obviously, Kyogo's got a shoulder injury. But don't know how bad it is. Obviously, his shoulders popped out again. So I would just leave him out altogether on Sunday. Just let him rest up. Now get Idah in, get him the start, get him the ovation for the fans and stuff when it starts the game. So I would use League Cups, especially maybe you're going to get to semi-final and the final is a bit different. You start playing your strongest team, but even for Idah, I would start resting players and use your squad. You can't keep playing Cal McGregor 60 games this season either. He did an Achilles injury towards the end of last season.
Yeah.
And obviously he's getting older now as well, so you can't keep flogging him to death as well, expecting to play every game of the season. So it should be a squad game when it comes to the League Cup. Remember, I've got more games in Europe this season as well.
Yeah, true.
So I would use the League Cup, to try and blood more your squad players and stuff like that. And use the squad depth for what it's there for.
Yeah, definitely. And it says Hibs, I know they're a Premiership team, but we could still field a few fringe players, and I think we'll still brush them aside anyway. But yeah, talking there about what Michael picked up on there, Liam, about Callum McGregor in particular, because obviously he retired recently in national football. For that very reason, he's playing a lot of football. There was a couple of years back where he was playing more football than anybody in all of Europe, apparently. So I think it's a sensible move if Callum McGregor didn't start, but because he's a club captain, and I think the boy himself just loves playing. I really do. I would be surprised if he did get the nod. But for me, this is a game where I would think Bernardo would get a start. And I don't think he'd look too out of place as well, Liam, because we brought him in as well this summer. And he showed last season that, if you give him a run of games, I think we'll see the best of him. The problem with last season was he would get a wee run of games, then he'd obviously fall out of the team. And then when he comes back in, he doesn't, once you get a few games under his belt, I think we'll see the best of him. So for me, a game at home at Hibs, I would say Bernardo would get the nod. But maybe if it's not McGregor, maybe somebody like Hatate's expense, do you think, Liam?
I mean, Hatate, Holmes looked no bad since he's came on. It just depends how much we want to win this game. It's like how much of a risk do we want to take? It was fucking crushing last year in Rodgers' first year where we came and, we got punted out to Kilmarnock. That felt horrible. The fact that Rangers was still in it and that and went on. No, I don't. I think we'll probably see. I think we'll see McGregor probably start, knowing Brendan, or we'll play our best team because it's still early, and then I think we'll try and say, okay, let's see if we can come out guns blazing, build up a lead, and then let's start. The first guy you take off is Callum McGregor, and then Bernardo's coming in. They're coming on at 45 minutes or even 40 minutes, depending on how fast we come out against Hibs, and we should be able to overpower them. We're easily within the first 25, 30 minutes. If we can make it count, and we can come in and just overwhelm them, then I think that gives us a luxury just to sort of, okay, let's look at some different players and positions. And that's the one thing that was frustrating last year is we didn't get a chance to see many different players coming in. It was always Scales, it was always Greg Taylor, it was always either Kyogo, Idah. We've not really, some of the boys that we've brought in, I'd like to see better. I'd like to see Naroki. I'd like to see Lagerbielke get a game instead of Scales. This could be the game to do that and see how they perform under that pressure. They've played with good teams, So, I think that's what I'd like to see. But I think he'll start with a traditional team. I don't think we'll see anything adventurous. So that means Schmeichel, that means McGregor, that means Taylor, it means the only one it's a question mark would maybe Kyogo.
Because they're banged up a little bit. Well, this one comes out, Michael, from Graham Martin, and this is actually an interesting point. Casper keeps his place because Brendan wants the League Cup back, because that is the one blotch on Brendan's domestic record. Obviously, last season, he'd already won 2 trebles, and in his third season, he'd already won the League Cup. So he hadn't lost any domestic cups that he'd competed in. Up to that point, obviously, that was gone. The League Cup is always the one that is seen as the, it's nice to win, but it's not exactly a massive priority. But we know there are a certain set of fans out there that do like to count trophies, and they care about that. And apparently, if you listen to them, I believe the current score is 118 to 118. So the next person that wins a trophy out of the two of them would take the lead, and their little world's most successful club moniker that they like to wave around, and all the branding around their stadium and all that stuff about this number of league titles and League Cups and Scottish Cups, all that. They're staring down the barrel here. If Celtic pick up the League Cup, which will be won in November, December time, the first trophy of the season, then if Celtic wouldn't go down this, it would be quite hilarious. So I can imagine it's like some sort of wee tweet taking a dig. Definitely could see something, but they are panicking that imaginary record that they've basically get, or that moniker that they've gave themselves is about to, because they've set the barometer, they've set the benchmark and saying, we are the world's most successful club because we've won all these trophies. Okay, cool. Well, Celtic are about to go to 119, which would be more. So that is worrying them. So the League Cup for that is, I mean, Brendan will want it back just for a pride thing, because we know that Brendan definitely, that was a black eye for him last season. But just for the banter as well, of just winding them up, they are panicking about us winning that first trophy this season. So it's important from that aspect as well, Michael.
I know, it's like, it's that astounds me, Phil, how they can just brush liquidation. Like, I know it's a different kind of worms, right? But it happened in that set. There's no denying it, so they can play all that card if they want. But I would just get the League Cup back, and I think it's always a good thing to win. Obviously, first trophy of the season. I always think that's like a springboard to the rest of the season. It's done as a turn a good few times. So if you win the first cup, I think it always gives you confidence going to the rest of the season.
It does.
Well, they don't concern me. This record is laughable to keep spouting anyway. You know what I mean? So I've never even concerned me. I just want us to keep winning everything we possibly can. And I always enhance our season. Win the League Cup. It's done as even under Janssen and stuff like that. We won the League Cup. And that was just springboard to success the rest of the season. And there's been countless times it's done that. So that's all that concerns me. Nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Just get the League Cup one for other reasons.
See, when I was growing up, it was always the trophy that always eluded us. Like obviously in the 90s, many trophies eluded us, but the League Cup, we just seem to be really cost. My earliest memory, I did talk to it under the bonnet when I did that episode, is the Raith Rovers Cup final defeat. After I really got into football in the summer of '94, the earliest Celtic memory I have is watching that Raith Rovers League Cup final and losing to them, and it was like, that was a good start. And then we won the League Cup in '97, but then, it was few and far between after that. It's only in recent years, after Brendan Rodgers came in, the first time around, that the League Cup has pretty much been with Celtic, but I think only 2 times in the last decade or 11 years or something, Celtic haven't won it. St Johnstone won it one year and Rangers won it last year, but every other season, it's us that pick up the League Cup. Ronnie Dyler won it once. I mean, I remember talking about the League Cup being cost. I can remember the Kilmarnock final. That was one that I had a real hard time accepting, because I was like, there's no way we just lost to Kilmarnock in the League Cup final. That was an astounding one. And at that point, I genuinely felt like we are truly costing this trophy. But now we just pick it up all the time. So, and it's a good springboard. Loads of people in the comments are saying that, where it's positioned in the season. Plus, you win that, and it's in the middle of December. We'll have a game against them coming up at the turn of the year, so it's a great momentum builder, especially if we've beat them in the final, which is always a likely scenario. By the way, the draw always seems to come out. We don't seem to draw Rangers in the early rounds of cups anymore. It's always saved for games at Hampden, I notice. But there's always that chance that we could be playing them in the final. If that's the case, maybe a good one to get over them in the run up to the second game. Technically, if we beat them in the League Cup final, we're winning it on their home patch this season. Because I imagine the final will have to get played at Hampden, because I don't see it being moved to Murrayfield or anything like that. Because when we played at Hampden for a year, the Scottish Cup final still got played at Hampden when we played at Airdrie. So it would still, but it'd be a 50-50 split, obviously, so the advantage wouldn't really be there for them. Our record at Hampden in recent years anyway is a home away from home. But we'll talk about the final if and when we get there. But we'll start with this, obviously, the Hibs game. Now, one thing, Liam, that you brought up there was Kyogo. Apparently, he is a doubt. According to Sky Sports News today, he is one that is a doubt due to being a bit banged up last week. And there was that heart in the mouth moment that obviously went down the shoulder. Brendan brought it up. He said that a year ago that Kyogo needed shoulder surgery, and it was up to the player when he wanted to go and get it. As far as we know, he hasn't gone and got it done yet. And last week there was a wee bit of a scare him going down, but obviously Adam Idah's in. So I do think Idah does start. Who's the backup after that? You brought up Mikey Johnson's name. Apparently he's out with concussion. Concussion syndrome or concussion protocol is 3 weeks, 21 days. He's out for. Because that head knock he took last week. We're going for the clash with the goalkeeper. So he's out for that, which, to be fair, most Celtic fans will be too bothered there. But either way, concussions is serious stuff these days with the way, especially in all sports. So we can't, you can't just, it's only Mikey Johnston at the end of the day. Wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully there's no long-term effects on that one. And fair play to the lad. He put his head in there where most people would have probably pulled out of, but he took a bit of a sore one there. But it does put us in a position where if Kyogo's not on the bench, and Adam Idah does start, Although I do think we'll brush Hibs aside, but there is that worry that if we're having a bit of one of those awkward days, Liam, in front of goal, what does Brendan do when he turns to the bench? It's probably going to be Daizen Maeda's going to have to play through the middle if push comes to shove and we're in a position where we're struggling here in front of goal. We're going to need to switch it up top. It's going to probably be Daizen Maeda's only option right now, isn't he? But again, it highlights, Liam, that probably need another body for the forward department before the window's out. Just because if Kyogo's a bit banged up at times, and we know how fragile he can be, if he does have a poor game, 3 is definitely the magic number for me, Liam.
Oh, yeah. If you look at the 2 games we've played already, he's been battled about something chronic. I only saw the second half of the last game, but watched him against Hibs. I mean, he was on his arse a couple of times where ball had to go out for play to go and get him treatment.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to have to wrap our strikers in cotton wool because we've done such a poor job of, having backups. The fact, I'm surprised they let O go. I thought maybe they were giving him another season just because of that. If as a backup to Idah, he might not be too bad. But I think as well too, I'll be holding my breath every time Idah goes down and that as well, because don't seem to get a lot of protection for the referees inside the box. Yeah, seems to be open season on what goalies can go for and all that as well. And we've got Willie Collum, the head of the referees, and you're starting to see the agricultural thug tactics that somehow he seems to embrace is sort of appearing in.
Liam, can I just pick something up there about that, the incident last week? Do you think that was a penalty? Because I think in the current game, the way things are, think back to the Euros, right? Now, I don't think this was a penalty at the time in the Euros, but we saw what referees will give penalties for. Harry Kane and Denzel Dumfries of Holland go for the same ball. They go to volley at the same time. Their feet clip each other. A loose ball last week between Hibs and Celtic. Both the goalkeeper and Mikey Johnson go for it and they collide. No penalty, but the one in the Euros for a light touch on his foot was given as a penalty. I say now, I don't think either were a penalty. The ball is there to be won. But if one gets given for this, and this one resulted in Mikey Johnson having a concussion, a proper head knock to the point where his nose was all busted open. He tried to play on and he couldn't. We had to make a concussion sub. So that proves that there was a hefty knock on the boy, and it wasn't even nothing reviewed by VAR. Because I don't think it was a penalty because it's a 50-50. It's there to be won and it's an innocent clash. But given precedent of what has been given as penalties in recent times through VAR, it's interesting, isn't it?
Well, it'll be interesting the first time we get a VAR called against us to see what that is for. Looking at the ones that's getting away, but we seem to be not relying on it as much as what we did last. In fact, we're trying to ignore it when there's flashpoints that are occurring. You're as a fan, it's like, okay, I would look at that, but there seems to be very much a hesitancy to stop the game. They want it to keep flowing. They want it to move on, regardless whether it's the correct decision or not. I think the one in the first game, the thing when McCorry went right through and got Kyogo after the ball had been released, I don't know what you could get a more stonewaller penalty than that.
Agreed.
So I think that's something we've got to look at with the referees. And, now that we've got Brendan back, I need him to give a blast to the referees as well then. If that's the case, Rangers aren't shy to do it. They're famous for coming out and blasting the referees and letting their expectations be known of how they want their games refereed. Can't you just sit back and take this as well? Especially if we're playing, this game where we're only signing 2 strikers or, our backups are very limited in certain positions. Well, that opens you up to thug tactics. And, and that seems to be, whether it comes out as thuggery or just desire to win. A lot of teams have to stop Celtic by just incorporating different means. It's no straight up football. You have to slow them down. You have to send messages. You have to do all that. And we got to make sure that our players are getting the proper protection from the referee they need.
Definitely.
And again, Willie Collum. Okay, we know who the head of the referees is now. It's not like someone we're not unfamiliar with. We know what Willie Collum's like. We know it's like, so do they. And we know how he can be influenced. But we also know he's got this weird sort of bravado about him as well. But somehow this is That's through hammer thrower in Scotland.
Mm. Yeah, he's got that main character syndrome when he was a referee as well, which is a terrible trait for a referee to have, and now he's the head of the referees. But we did mention last week, apparently they've now got a former English Premier League referee to be the head of the VAR department. We'll see what that brings over the next few months. But as we hit the hour mark, let's now go for our predictions for the game on Sunday, because yes, it is Sunday at 3:00. Cheers, Premier Sports, for that one. Every weekend so far we've been playing on a Sunday, and yeah, they get to play before us every single weekend. So they play tomorrow at 5:30 against St Johnstone. So they even in a cup, a knockout round, they even get to play before us. But anyway, Hibs Sunday 3:00, Celtic Park, and the draw's right after it. Hopefully we are still in there. I think we'll win pretty comfortably. I don't think Hibs were up to much last week. I think there was a bit of an overreaction by a contingent online last week because Hibs had a wee bit more possession in the second half. The bottom line is this: did Kasper Schmeichel have a single meaningful save to make? He had none to make. Even in the game before that against Killie, he didn't. We controlled the game, and I've always felt that if Hibs had got one back last week, I think we would have went up a gear and got another goal, maybe another two. I just feel like we went 2-0 up. We stormed them in the first half. Probably should have been more out of sight. And the second half, it was just a case of, look, the game's won. Unless they give us serious problems, the game's won. And that's how it panned out. So I don't see Hibs causing as much problems coming to Celtic Park on a bigger pitch. And I think I even said last week, and I mentioned it, Russell was on TNF last week, Hibs changed their manager as much as the weather changes in Glasgow, which is a lot right now with the way the weather's going. So it would surprise me if David Gray isn't removed from the Hibs job within about a month's time, and Malky Mackay conveniently becomes our next manager. But yeah, I can't see Hibs causing us any problems. I think we're a pretty comfortable win in the end. At least 4 I'll go for on that one. But the bottom line is, because it's a cup game, you just need to win it by any margin and just be in the next round. But Michael, what do you think in terms of the score? How do you think it will pan out?
I'm going 3 or 4 nothing, Phil. I'm just hoping we use the squad a bit and get players game time. They've not been getting game time, and more importantly, getting players. I know it's the way early in the season, but players that can miss out and get rested up for games coming up. And that's quite important as well. Like I said, McGregor and people like that. So I'm quite comfortable. 3 or 4 nothing. I don't think there'll be any problem.
Yeah,
it should be fairly straightforward, especially being at home as well. So 3 or 4 nothing.
Yeah, definitely. And Liam, you've been going with 4s a lot recently. You're going to stick to a 4 on this one, or do you think maybe more than that?
No, I'm sticking with 4. I slept in last week when I missed the first half. So I predicted 4, so I got halfway it, even though I seen the half of the game where they didn't score any and played absolutely fucking shite. I was falling asleep again watching it. I've 4-0. Like to see some. I think CCV's going to pop in a goal.
Oh, okay, nice one.
I think Matt O'Reilly's going to score a goal. I think Kuhn's going to keep going. Kuhn's giving me Paddy Roberts vibes.
He even looks a bit like him. Yeah, he even does.
Like him, and he sort of plays like him as well. He's, I don't think we've seen a player that attacks that well with the ball at his feet since Aidan McGeady. You know, he likes to run at a defence, and I think that gives Scottish defenders just conniptions. And Dyson Maeda with the 4th goal.
Loads of people coming in with Greg Taylor predictions. Greg Taylor. Jim C says, Graham Martin said Greg Taylor hat-trick. So, yeah, but a lot of people are saying Adam Idah is scored, and I think if he is starting, which I'm leaning towards going to happen if it's true that Kyogo's a bit banged up, then yeah, I think Adam Idah will get on the score sheet. So yeah, it's all comfortable all round. Yeah, it's going to be Celtic in the next round of the cup. Regardless if they win 1-0 or 5-0, as long as they're in the next round. But I do think we will breeze through in the end. But the draw is after our game, so hopefully we get a nice easy tie in the next round as well, or them at home, which would be which would also be welcomed as well. But either way, yeah, enjoy it wherever you watch it, folks, whether you're going to the pub or going to the game or whatever. Enjoy it. And we will catch you on the next one. I believe there will be a PMP for that one. I think I saw that Russell saying something on social media about he's going to see Ocean Colour scene in Edinburgh on Sunday. So given that the game is 3 o'clock on Sunday, I don't know how much time that leaves him to do it, but I'm sure we'll sort something, even if I've got to step in and host it and I'll obviously get back from the game and maybe on a bit later. But either way, keep your eyes peeled. If you want to know if PMP's on, hit the subscribe button and you'll be alerted when it is on. But thanks to Michael and thanks to Liam for joining me tonight. Thanks to all you for choosing the Boise bus on the Friday feeling tonight to keep yourself entertained for the last hour or so. And yes, we're out of here. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy the game on Sunday. Catch you later, folks. See ya.